Hello guys and welcome back. We've just had a few minutes delayed, but we're back with Ingrid. And Ingrid, if you'd like to join in with us. Ingrid is one of our long-term therapists and counsellors through. Hey, oh, sorry. There you go. Little bit of feedback there. So bear with us a second, guys. I'll just let you know that Ingrid is going to be presenting on laughter, how laughter is the best medicine. And she's been with Pineapple Support since the start. So we see if we can put your mic on again, Ingrid. The wonders of live presentations. Unfortunately, guys, there is a little bit of a hiccup, but bear with us and we will be presenting to you shortly.
Can you guys hear me now?
Have you got us on to... Oh, there's terrible feedback.
There.
Oh, we still have you. There we go. That's... Oh, we seem to have completely lost her. But what we'll do is we'll just give a chance to come back in, and then we'll see if she can try some headphones instead, see if that'll stop the feedback. In the interim, I'm going to say thank you to Fancentro again for providing us with the resources to be able to present to you today. And if you do have any further queries or questions, you can be more than happy to send them to me, Kelly, that's Kellie at pineapplesupport.org. And we are reconnecting to Ingrid. Let's have a look, see if we can get you in now. Hello, Ingrid.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yay, we've got you. There you are. Yay.
Hi, guys.
That's okay, don't you worry.
You know, Kelly, I'm not the techiest person. I could see you, I could hear. I'm like, oh my God. So, you know, that's how it is with me. So I apologize. Here I am.
This is live. Don't you worry about it. I'm just glad that you're here so people get to hear your brilliant self.
Well, I don't know about brilliant, but I will do my very best. So I have a confession to make. So I saw the little blip. So here's a little backstory to how I participated in this. And I thought, you know what, serendipity being what it is. So I had seen the little blip on our little, Facebook thingy. And I thought, because see, the word happiness triggers me. As a therapist. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, let's see how we go.
The question being humor, right? This is our topic for the day.
Yeah.
So without further ado, yes, I am a licensed therapist, and I hail from Miami, and I have a private practice, and I also contract with Pineapple Support to work with people in the sex industry. So today's topic being laughter / humor and its, wonderfulness in our lives. And so, and on the surface, it kind of sounds obvious, right? Oh, well, of course it's good for you. Well, the first thing that I kind of wanted to address and go with is, I think one of the biggest reasons that it's actually a bigger point of contention in people's lives that we actually realize this thing about, oh, why aren't we laughing more in our lives? Well, and why aren't we happy? And we got to be happy. There's a fundamental problem with that. Happy is a feeling, right? If you ask me right now if I'm happy, I'm going to say, no, I'm not happy. I'm focused, I'm engaged, but I'm not happy. And you'll also note too that when people go through their lives, and you'll see this a lot in older people, right? They'll go, oh, I just want peace and quiet. It's not that they don't want to be happy, but when you see someone having been through the vicissitudes of life, their tendency isn't to necessarily be happy. It's to be at peace. And so instead, what I offer is to seek to have equanimity, right? Versus seeking to be happy necessarily, because that's a momentary feeling. And equanimity, therefore, then dictates an entirely different approach, right? The Greeks, one of our Greek serious has been quoted saying that equanimity is calamity's medicine, right? So we started out with the concept that we were going to look at laughter and humor and why was this medicine? And so the sages kind of got it right. You know, they understood that there wasn't something that wasn't realistic to necessarily have to be happy. But if you could keep your cool, if you could keep your balance, if you could keep your grounding and your footing, then you have a fighting chance, right? So come back to 2021, and even as of 2019, when I was looking at some of the latest research on laughter and humor, we really don't know exactly what it is what are the aspects of a joke or a situation that makes something funny. And as a matter of fact, as I went along and looked at some of the movers and shakers throughout the course of the study of laughter and laughing and so on, at least in modern times, the notion was that, or the evidence was that things are not necessarily, the things that we laugh at aren't necessarily or inherently funny. Okay, it's the context that makes it funny, right? And then we have to look at also, what was the role of laughter in human life? When did this evolve? I mean, do we see other animals laugh, and how do they use humor, and how would we determine that, and why do we have it, right? And I'm trying to skip through because we lost a little bit of time with our little technical issues. So I want to kind of skip through some of the pieces here. About 2 to 4 million years ago, we started to see an evolutionary difference in the humans, right? And so as we go along and we see, where does the thing of laughter come up, and what was the usage of it? Laughing and laughter and humor is a social thing, okay? It's something that connects us, right? When we laugh together, we feel bonded together, and there's a reason for that. Some scientists have posited that it's kind of a replacement for the grooming that primates do with each other. And as we evolved and got more adept at adapting to our environment, we got and multiplied and we were more successful as a species. It wasn't necessarily as practical to be sitting around grooming each other all day. So one of the ideas was that laughter was something that connects us, and it was a way of bonding. Okay, and that'll be important as we kind of go along into how does laughter and humor affect us physically, mentally, emotionally, and then real practical ways and how to apply that in our lives and why it would be meaningful. And then at the end, what I would like to try to do is going to address the issue of, some of you might be going, well, I've never really had a good sense of humor. I've never really had a belly laugh. It's not an easy place for me to go to. And if it's such a dang natural thing, then why can't I do it, right? Why is it hard for me? I mean, if babies can do it as of 3 months and they don't even have language. One of the things that as a clinician, at least I do, that we look for is to see how well, to look at our clients' capacity for humor and interjecting that in healthy manners, because a healthy sense of humor and the ability to laugh and engage in humor is actually a sign of a healthy central nervous system. And for people who might have suffered trauma, that could be damaged. And you might not even know it. The good news is it's fixable. And like I say to all my clients, with most things when it comes to fixing things with ourselves and mental health, it's simple, but not necessarily easy. That doesn't mean it's not doable, okay? But we'll get to that at the end. All right. In other words, laughter is more than just a response to humor. It's a primal human tool. It is one of the building blocks of society. And we might, and like I said, the obviousness of it initially, when you think about laughter, it's, oh, that's kind of a natural thing. But when you dig a little deeper, it's a much more profound than just, oh, you got to giggle out or something, right? So let's start with the science behind what are the benefits, right? Because, you can say, oh yeah, it's good for you, but why? Well, from a physical point of view, it stimulates your organs, because when you laugh, you take in a lot more air. So it's an oxygen-rich air. It stimulates your lungs, your heart, your muscles. So you're already increasing energy in, and then you're exhaling out the negative, the waste, and so on and so forth. That's sort of the idea there. You relaxes your muscles. When you get stressed, your body gets tense. When you laughing, your muscles get tense initially because you have that hold in, and then you let go. That feeling of stuck kind of leaves your body. If you've ever had a moment where you were hanging out maybe with somebody, or you're doing something, and out of nowhere, for whatever reason, there's a big moment of laughter. And as the laughter wanes, you can feel your body relaxing and releasing into the moment, and it feels good. And guess what? It can last up to 45 minutes, which that was a number that actually surprised me initially. It's awesome for your heart rate, because you're moving more oxygen in your blood. You're making your heart pump a little bit harder. It's excellent. It's like giving yourself a little workout, improves your cardiovascular functioning. So therefore, decrease risk of heart issues, boost your immune system. Okay. And they talk about how negative thoughts have an impact on your health, and we are all aware of that. But what the caveat that I just kind of want to interject something here, unless I lose that thought for later. One of the biggest premises of, for example, like cognitive behavior therapy, is the idea if you can change your thoughts, behaviors, and your feelings, so on and so forth. And so, in popular vernacular in psychology, you get the, oh, think happy thoughts, and think positive. And that can actually be almost more detrimental if you're not very specific in how to do so, number one, and number two, to have that expectation from somebody who is not capable of it. And I'll get further into that. Okay. So yes, boosting your immune system. When you laugh, you do tend to want to adopt a more positive mindset. Okay. And so in doing so, you could release infection fighting antibodies, neuropeptides, all of the kinds that fight, the symptoms of stress. Lowers your blood pressure. We obviously know the benefits of lowering your blood pressure. And believe it or not, having a good sense of humor and getting good chuckles out can help with chronic weight problems. And the reason for that is if you're able to reduce your stress responses to your life, then you're likely going to be able to rest better. And by the way, get more sleep. All the healing properties that come with sleep, the rejuvenation that comes with sleep happens, and therefore your system works better. You're metabolizing your stuff better, and it helps for more losing the chunks, right? So mental health benefits. Why do people pay so much money to go see those comedians? Well, because they're funny, yeah, and because they laugh, but because it's like your emotional world goes on vacation. You get to check out. It provides a distraction, right? And so here we have to be careful again. You will, oh, is my therapist telling me I should forcibly go distract myself so I don't deal with my issues? No, there's a big difference. When you're doing it intentionally, it's like going on vacation. It's regressing in service of the ego. That doesn't absolve you from taking care of your stuff, right? But a distraction is that. It's a needed respite, right? So if you're relaxed and you're happy and laughing with people and you're hanging out with people and you're connecting, so it's going to improve your mood. It only takes a little tip of the scale when your emotions are clouding your ability to think straight, it just takes a little bit, enough to allow your neocortex to come online to start looking at things from a different perspective. Okay. Reducing stress hormones like cortisol. All right. When you're able to decrease your cortisol levels, because laughter will actually help you do that. Again, if this is all kind of fits into each other, it's all part of the homeostasis of the human body and the mind-body connection. You get the point, right? So if we know the obvious effects on our bodies and our minds, then how do we make it better? How do we do it? How do we bring in humor in our lives? How do we, because I don't know that necessarily that's the first thing that people think of when they jump out of bed, but you ever notice there are some people, they tend to just be more readily willing to laugh. You know, there's always that giggly lady in the office or something. That's because there's a general mood, right? There's a willingness, there's a desire to seek out the opportunities to laugh. Okay, so how do we do that? In 2021, you know, you're going to be bombarded with all kinds of things all day, especially with social media and so on and so forth. And you know, more and more of us are spending more time on our screens. And so, you know, memes show up all the time, and we share memes. Some will go more viral than others, right? But that's one way to do it. We kind of already do it in social media. I remember when the pandemic started, how you would see memes pop up that would be a humorous depiction of a common experience we were all having, but it was made funny, right? So one of my favorite ones was, you see a picture of this lady dressed in literally a gala garb with this gown and the makeup and the whole thing, right? And she yells back to the husband, "I'm going to the mailbox," right? And that's the humor, right? So funny, because your big outing of the day was your walk to the mailbox. And so the only opportunity, and that's the point. Humor is a contextual thing. It connects us to other people because of it, right? You know, some of these ideas I came up with, I found on the internet, and I think some of them maybe apply to better to younger cohorts, like creating a Pinterest board. I don't know that, you know, a middle-aged executive lawyer is going to, or whatever, is going to be interested in maybe necessarily building a Pinterest board. But I could see where, you know, somebody from a younger crowd, that would be a something, because then the idea of that is that you're sort of creating a materialization or an outward view of the things that you would find humorous and funny that would bring that chuckle response, right? Spending time with your pets. I have to say, this is one of my, I love this one. You know, I do consultations for emotional support animals all the time. And one of the things that I almost always hear from those who have a pet that they need for as an emotional support animal is they'll say how adorable they are and how much they help them and so on and so forth. And almost invariably, they will say how somehow the animal will make them laugh. Okay, and so this is as I go into how this becomes relevant in personal relationships, I'll share a personal thing, remember it. Listening to funny podcasts. There is this one, try a laughter yoga. I taught yoga, my husband's taught yoga. I don't know about laughter yoga. I know about all kinds of, I've heard of goat yoga too, but I'm not sure about that one. Laughter yoga is a new take, encourages prolonged voluntary laughter. I don't know how convinced I am about that one, but there you have it. There they are for that. Laugh at yourself. This was one that I found that those who have the perfectionist thing have a very difficult time with. And it's actually one of the things that when I'm working with somebody who has that perfectionist bug, to the point where it's distressing to them. One of my goals is to help them get to a place, they don't inadvertently, that I'm not explicitly saying it, but as a clinician, is to watch and see how close they can get to a place where they can find the humor in their symptomology and even look back at their distress with humor. That is usually one of the biggest indications that there's been a tremendous shift and a healing that's occurred. Alter your environment. This is one of the ones where I also I'm really big on. I tend to do it a lot. I tend to be more aware of it as a mother, where I look at the environment that my children are in, and I tend to, as they grow and develop, to create an environment that is playful and fun for them at their age level. And it's something that we as adults don't necessarily do, to put things in our environment that are explicitly there to solicit that smile or that chuckle response or laughing. But I would encourage you to do so. It could be a fun project for some. It might be, and of course you say 2021, that's not necessarily a thing that we can all do, right? But when you can, host an event at your house with the idea of bringing laughter into your home, okay? Watching the YouTube videos, spending time with playful people. I have a brother-in-law, it's like everybody loves to spend time with him because he has such an entertaining way of speaking and using language, and he's such a character. He acts out all his stuff, and he's just fun to hang around with, and everybody just wants to be with him because he can make people laugh, right? I have, though, a few more that I have through the course of my practice, and through the course of my own personal life, that I think is more of a laundry list of, your garden variety, or find ways to bring joy into your happiness into your life. But I thought it would be a more practical offering to suggest to pair laughing, or to start to conceptualize pairing laughing with certain activities and chores. And I'll explain. You can say, well, that kind of makes sense. I could have figured that out on my own, Ingrid, but this being a webinar on laughing, I thought, okay, how do I see this occur in my clients, and how does it play out clinically? Well, one of the things that we tend to do just naturally, even with kids, right? We'll try to pair an unpleasant thing with making it fun for them, with trying to get them to laugh, to have fun with it, to be playful. I don't know why we stopped doing it as adults. It's almost as if we've decided that because we're doing this terrible thing that we hate, for me, it's laundry. I don't know about you guys. To me, I don't understand why it can't just stay done. But that's me. So the few times that I actually do the laundry, I have to do it with something else that's fun. And I typically like to just either listen to like funny podcasts, or put a comedian on, but pairing things that you find unpleasant with humor and laughter can actually shift your relationship to it. You might actually look forward to, I've never got to the point where I look forward to watching, folding laundry and doing laundry with laughter, but that's just me. I'm just saying. Right? Well, here's another one. This is one that you'll actually see played out in the movies, and I can tell you, I've done it personally. There was times I grew up in Haiti, and I was growing up in Haiti at a time where there were a lot of political upheaval. And so you could have some very unpleasant experiences and bleak experiences. And so there are times when you would adopt sort of like this very stoic, matter of fact kind of attitude with it, but it was laced with this understatement. So if I were to kind of give an example of that, I don't know if anybody remembers the movie, was it Cusco with David Spade? He was a llama, that he was a king, and he became a llama, and he was basically a spoiled brat who went out into the world, and he had to deal with the vicissitudes of life. And at one point he's about to fall off the precipice, and he's asking, is there a waterfall down there? We're going to fall to our death. And guy's like, yep. He goes, bring it on. All of a sudden he became brave in that moment of absolute, in my opinion, it was a deep moment of humor. It was designed, that scene was designed to make you laugh as they're going down this precipice, surely to their death, and he's going stoic and brave. Clearly he doesn't die, but there have been moments when I've had to do that too. And I've seen some of my clients do that, and that it builds resilience skills, right? And this one, seeing as we're with our sex industry people, pairing laughing and humor with sex. That's one of my favorites. When you can be with someone and you're engaged in the act of sex and you're able to laugh, and there is a very special and intimate and profound connection that can happen in that place. What it elicits is a deep sense of trust. It comes from being in a place of complete comfort. And I haven't heard a lot of people mention this to me, but those who have, typically in their relationships, there's a lot of honesty. There's a willingness to suffer the discomfort in the now in their relationship so that they can invest into a better future. And that sort of brings me to kind of like the full circle. There are some people who it is difficult for them to engage into the humor, to bring that, to allow that laughter to come in. And that can be an indication of damage to the central nervous system, like I said before. Because laughing inherently is a letting go, okay? And in somatic therapies, when we work with people with traumas or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, as we refer to it, that's called a discharging, where the client is able to let go. Well, people who have post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic disorder are not trying to let go. They learned a long time ago that letting go is not a good idea if you wanted to survive a very difficult situation. On the contrary, that's what helped them stay alive. And now you're telling them, oh no, you can let that go now. There is a dissonance there. Even if you get it intellectually, emotionally, it's not going to compute. So if you find yourself consistently in a place where it is hard to bring in that humor, you can't drop into it, because even if you laugh, you know something's funny, but you don't feel it in your body, pay attention to that. It's telling you something. If it's consistently sometimes people just aren't funny, okay? So I want to share that too. Not all humor is going to be, I don't laugh very easily, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like my husband. So this is why I will share a personal. I didn't know my biological father growing up, but then I said to my mom, I want to go meet him. So I said, let me see a picture. Well, let's just say my mom was a really beautiful woman. And this was, she was a hippie, flower girl, make love, not war kind of thing. And I was like, all right. Well, my mother did not do drugs ever. And I'm looking at this picture of my dad. I'm like, how did that happen? Like, he was not cute. He had a cross eye, the whole thing. This was my mother's response. He made me laugh. At 17, I didn't get it because I just thought he's just cute. Like, you just don't do that. but I get it now. It's really wonderful when you are in a relationship with somebody that is meaningful to you, that you're attached to, that you're committed to, that is important to you, that you can laugh with. There's a profound bonding that comes from that. And yet for some of us, it can initially be difficult as we go along. We don't do it as naturally as kids do. And if you have trauma, that could definitely be a reason. So I would say, if you're going to go into exploring that area, look for a therapist that's either trauma informed, okay, who knows how to do trauma informed care, or who has training in somatic type of therapies like EMDR or tapping and that sort of thing, because you'll likely find much more success, all right, in resolving some profound issues there, but also in bringing more laughter in your life, right? What this is, I want to quote who he, oh, here it is. In Sexual Selection and Humor in Courtship, A Case for Warmth and Extroversion, Jeffrey Hall, PhD Associate Professor of Communicational Studies at the University of Kansas, studied that very topic, which was laughing and how it seals the deal in courtship, right? And what he, in his studies, discovered was that women actually seek out men that are attracted to men, I should say, who make them laugh. Why? Because it tells them that, wait, if we're laughing together, all right, then our thoughts and our values are aligned. So this is an indication that I'd be interested in see this go further, right? The other thing that was interesting was that if the couples or the pair was seen laughing together, not just the woman laughing at the man's, jokes or whatnot, then there was a higher likelihood that they would end up in a relationship together. So he offered 4 ideas as to why humor appears to be so important in long-lasting relationships. Number 1, it points to a sociable and agreeable personality. People might say, well, I'm not agreeable. Okay, fine. We can just put that there a little bit. But it also gauges, it kind of tells you the temperature. It gives you a kind of a picture, a landscape of the relationship. But that's true for all relationships, right? And for those of you who have children, or even if you've had even siblings or whomever, you're upset as a kid, you're upset about something, who knows? And then you get the mom or the dad or the sibling who come to you, kind of nudge you, and you want to stay mad. And then they kind of nudge you again. And they do that one thing that without fail makes you laugh, and you fall into laughter. It allows us to let go of our grievances because we trust that the person who's trying to coax us back into the joy cares enough about our feelings, and at the same time also cares enough about our suffering to want to bring us back from that. So it's not that we let go because we're not acknowledged, and that is one of the biggest reasons why people suffer the trauma, is that they don't want to let go, first of all, the hanging on so tight because it helped them to survive. But the other piece is that there are a lot of feelings that hadn't been acknowledged because they didn't have time to, that need to be acknowledged. And you might not necessarily have the opportunity to have it acknowledged by somebody who did the hurting. So that leaves you having to contend with yourself. Nonetheless, long-lasting relationships are to be had. You're not damaged for life. There is hope. And as far as I'm concerned, if there's hope, then laughter will follow suit. and you can intentionally invite it, even though the science says that the laughter has to be spontaneous, right? That you can't fake it. Well, sure, no one's asking you to. And that brings me to the other point. Cognitive behavior therapy, being what it is, fantastic. And I think well applied works wonders. But telling someone to have positive thinking and tell them all the positive thoughts they can have, and then expecting that to work, the psyche will call bullshit. It knows when it's being fooled. You're not going to have happy thoughts around something if you don't believe them to be true. So start small. Start with the lowest common denominator of which you can find acceptably true, that is good. Okay. And then you work on the somatic responses as well. The other one that Hall was saying that appears to be important in long-lasting relationships was that it was universally true, regardless of culture or time and space. It was universally recognized or seen as part of pair bonding or courtship or wanting to be together, right? And it was it kind of lays the groundwork for the long-term peace to be there, right? You know, couples that laugh together, stay together, families that laugh together, stay together. That's true. Ever been in a situation where it's just so unfreaking believable what you're going through that you go, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry, because it's just ridiculous. It's just the kind of thing where you go like 2020, that one. But I swear I was waiting for them to cue the aliens at any point. I'm still waiting. I'm just, I guess they haven't run out of things in their script yet. I don't know. But it was one of those moments. That says that you recognize the commonality of your suffering together, but you're going to do it together, right? We're social creatures. We need each other. And laughing is incredibly important. And so is bringing the opportunity for humor to be part of your life. So I would say seek not necessarily to be happy, but seek equanimity, which says that you're riding the wave. In other words, that you have learned to be grounded enough in your everyday life that you can keep your footing even when it all goes to shit, or even when it's absolutely fabulous, right? And as you practice being able to come back to baseline over time, your bandwidth for being able to withstand more and more stressors becomes wider. And over time, you become less overwhelmed the more stresses you have, which, by the way, in studies done around the world on very successful people and high, doers and movers and shakers in our world, one of the things that was true and common for all was their ability to withstand calmly and with equanimity tremendous amount of stressors. It was how they responded to those stressors with equanimity, and their ability to maintain a sense of humor even during difficult times when they were personally being challenged. It's a tall order. But it's also a doable one. And before I go, had a couple of things I wanted to share. And before we part, a couple of words. It can be incredibly difficult and frightening to let go of our self-righteous indignation, and I don't say it in a negative manner, like it's really, you're hanging on to the dignity of your soul sometimes just to get through life, and you want, somebody's trying to tell you you need to laugh, like fuck off, like no, I'm trying to survive. And that's the piece. It can be very difficult to be willing to let that go, because it's almost as if someone's asking you to let go of your life. And so I would say this, pick your heart, okay? This comes from the Mind Journal off of the internet. I thought it was fantastic. It's a great meme. I saw it, my husband saw it on Facebook yesterday, and I thought this was very poignant. Marriage is hard, divorce is hard. Choose your heart. Obesity is hard. Fit is hard. Choose your heart. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your heart. Communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. Choose your heart. Life will never be easy. It will always be hard, but you can choose your heart. So choose wisely. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Don't let it scare you, because that's exactly where we lose ourselves, is in our fear. It's the root cause of almost every one of these mental health disorders as we go along.
Hi, Ingrid. You are always such a great person to listen to, because you love the fact that you're hard-hitting and you don't bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has their vices and everybody has their opinions. Sometimes happiness is great and you can laugh, but sometimes you feel like saying, piss off. No, I'm not doing it.
Exactly. And it's because, you know, how are you going to tell people, oh no, you got to get rid of this one thing that you know is what kept you alive all this time? No. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage for people to do that. Yeah. And people, I think, oftentimes think that, you know, like something's wrong with them, like this, they did something wrong, and it's like a lot of people didn't even know, like, wait, I don't have a sense of humor because I was traumatized, like I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've found over the years that I've always used sort of humor to try and cover up my misdemeanors as well. So it's like, so sometimes when I'm trying to be happy and like present really nicely, it's just because I'm struggling myself. And you overkill it, so that it takes away some of the element of the happiness that you do have, because you've then got the sort of connection of when you've used it to cover up. But
you know what that's called? That defense mechanism is called reaction formation. People who have trauma tend to use that a lot.
Yeah.
You're forming a reaction to accommodate the people around you or to hide something from yourself.
Anyway, Ingrid, I'm gonna put your details into the chat column for everybody. If anyone has got any quick messages for Ingrid, do let us know quickly, because otherwise I'm gonna let her go. So we can grab a little cup of tea and get ready for Nell, who's gonna be doing some sing-alongs for us.
Oh.
I know.
Well, I'm gonna be going back to session. I've got my clients waiting for me. But I still have some time for you guys. Were there any questions before we go?
With everybody seems to have got a bit quiet now, so but what I'll do is I'll put your details in the chat box, so that if anyone does want to contact you at a later date, then they can do, or alternatively they can contact myself. As I said, it's kelly@pineapplesupport.org, and I will then refer any questions to Ingrid. I thank you so much for your time, my love, and I hope we speak again soon. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am. Bye.
Bye.